We are just gonna get started here in just a minute. I want to remind you all, we have a recording in progress, and so just be aware of that. While we're waiting just another minute, I want to let you know that what we're working on tonight, what we're going to be doing is we have an update for our what we've been doing since the foundation was formed, and also some information about John Cole's going to share information about some of the archives of Albert Kahn and some Kahn Realty and some family things that they did. So we'll get into that at the end, but we're going to kind of cover what we've done since we started in the inception of the organization. And there will be question and answer times a couple times, once after I've kind of covered a lot of the business stuff, and then once again after John has had an opportunity to share his interesting information that you might not know. So we're very excited about this. I'm going to wait just one more minute while other people are joining. I'm going to just we have, I know we don't have a lot of people joining us tonight, but it will be recorded so others can view this later as well. During the questions and answer period, there's an opportunity to, there's a Q&A opportunity on your Zoom. So use the Q&A if you have questions, and we'll try to answer as many of those as possible. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Just bear with me here. Can you see it? Okay, cool. All right. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Heidi Faunus, and I am the president of the Albert Kahn Legacy Foundation. And I am so glad that you took some time out tonight to hear where we are, what we've been doing, learn a little bit more about your organization. And so you can maybe share it with some of the people that you know as well. So tonight we're virtual. In the future, hopefully next year, we would like to have this event live with an opportunity to meet all of you. Many of us haven't met you, and we're really looking forward to an opportunity to meet you. I am the president and one of the founding members who made this organization possible. As an employee at Albert Kahn Associates for the last 8 years, I am responsible for developing and growing the firm's future business, along with building connections. And when I've been out building those connections, I hear a whole lot of stuff about Albert Kahn in the community. And what we realized we needed to do is bring this community together. And so over the years, we've discovered there's a variety of groups with a renewed interest in Albert Kahn. And that's kind of exciting. It's very, very exciting. We have seen an uptick in interest in the Albert Kahn Company historical archives, and that's where we came in. It's like all these people are wanting information that we have in our archives. We have some things, the most historically significant things at the University of Michigan Bentley Historic Library, but there's a whole lot more, like 10,000 projects that are not there. And so we started seeing more and more people wanting to have information about other kinds of projects. We've seen an uptick in research and publications. There was the formation of the Albert Kahn Research Coalition, and they put on biannual symposium, which had a a huge number of people that were attending. And that kind of said, there's a lot of people who are really excited about the work of Albert Kahn, more than those significant ones that are showing up in the Bentley Library. We also have discovered that there are descendants of the Kahn family who are eager to learn about their ancestors. And it's really cool to see and share the stories that we have, and then hear and share the stories that they have. And so it's also an opportunity for the Kahn family to come together and make those connections. There is a desire to educate and preserve the Kahn legacy for future generations via a museum or a permanent exhibit or portable exhibitions. So we want to make sure that this story is told for future generations. And as Detroit is being renewed, there's a lot of people that we want to bring in to tell those stories to show the impact that Albert had on many, many people. We have talked about having partnerships with organizations like the Urban League, who shares in the legacy by their residing, their main office is in Albert Kahn's original house. They've been there for 75 years. And so there's some partnership opportunities that might be coming down the road that we certainly want to share with them and talk with them and build those relationships. We also see a resurgence in repurposing and restoration of historic structures. We've got a desire to collaborate together with some of these organizations and help do what we can do to help preserve and make these projects a reality. But basically, Detroit loves Albert Kahn. We have a huge fan base, and we want to fuel that passion, not just in Detroit, but around the world. It's so much bigger than Detroit. I mean, Detroit has always loved Albert Kahn, but there's even more properties and facilities and stories all around the country, all around the world that we want to share. So our mission is the Albert Kahn Legacy Foundation honors the life, innovations, and global impact of architect Albert Kahn. So we've been around not very long. So when everybody else was trying to figure out what to do when the world shut down, we knew exactly what to do. So in May of 2020, we were officially established by the state of Michigan as an entity, a corporation. We worked very hard on our bylaws and articles and bylaws, and we received our 501c3 nonprofit status in October of 2020. That's only a year ago. That's amazing that when you look at what we've done in the last year, it's kind of amazing. So we're going to share some of what we've done. But first, we're going to share who we are, or who the founding people are, and the people who are making this amazing thing happen. We'll start with the board of directors, the executive committee. So I'm the president. We have Vice President Levi Smith, and Levi is passionate about establishing an Albert Kahn museum or a permanent exhibit for all to learn about Albert Kahn's legacy. He's a founder of his own real estate firm and is well established in the Detroit community, championing multiple nonprofit organizations as a board member. Then we have John Gallagher. John is the secretary. He is a veteran journalist and author who's published extensively in Detroit, reporting for the Detroit Free Press for 25 years. Now retired, John continues to write and speak about labor, economics, architecture, urban planning, and media, and he's really awesome at running our Zoom meetings. So thank you for doing this today. Rob Sharrow is our treasurer. Rob is recently retired after serving a lifelong career as an architect and board member at Albert Kahn Associates. He served in leadership roles at various organizations, including the Prismatic Club of Detroit, TIFA, and an elder and treasurer at the historic 4th Street Presbyterian Church in Detroit. So that's just the tip of some of the work that he's done. So Of course, that's just the executive committee. There's a whole lot of other people that have joined our forces on our board. We have Wendy Bice. Wendy comes to our foundation with a deep experience in nonprofit and socially responsible organizational strategic development, including fund, marketing, and program development. She's previously served as an executive director of the Jewish Historical Society of Michigan and has served on various other boards and committees. Barbara Cohn is active in the Detroit art and historical community, including as a docent at the Detroit Institute of Arts. She's created tours of the Detroit Public Library, writes and provides lectures. She serves as the vice president of the Jewish Historical Society of Michigan and on an advisory board for the Jewish Hospice and Chaplaincy Network. So she has been busy. John Cole, who you're going to hear from a little later today, he has a 42-year career in mechanical engineering at Albert Kahn Associates. He's served as the Detroit chapter president of ASHRAE, has been involved in the Engineering Society of Detroit, and over the last 2 decades, he's led historical tours for organizations such as Preservation Wayne and the Ford Paquette Avenue plant. So he loves our history, and we're really excited to have him engaged with us. Amy Ergus is an archivist at the Walter P. Reuther Library at Wayne State University. Previously, she served as director of the Jewish Historical Society of Michigan, where she edited the Journal of Michigan Jewish History. She curated exhibits at the Detroit Historical Museum. Her publications include books and articles on Detroit history, Jewish history, and art history. She has served on numerous boards in Detroit. Nancy Feingood was the executive director for Michigan Historic Preservation Network. She created the MHPN Tax Credit Partnership Program and has been instrumental in partnering on major Detroit projects. Nancy is also involved with the National Historic Preservation Organizations, several of them because of her connections that she's had over the years. Peter Robinson, yeah, I got him, I'm out of order here. Okay, Peter Robinson is the great grandson of Albert Kahn and has a history of civic involvement in Detroit and beyond. He's a partner at Robinson Jeffrey Associates, and he served as a board member of several startups throughout the country. Within the Detroit community, he served on various arts and culture boards, some of which are the DIA, the Birmingham Bloomfield Art Association, and boards at Cranbrook. Backing up to Michael Smith. Michael is an architectural historian and author. In addition to several published articles on Detroit architecture, he authored Designing Detroit, Wirt Rowland, and the Rise of Modern American Architecture. His research assists in gathering information for historic architecture, historic designations, historic tax credits, helping us answer all kinds of archive questions that we don't even know where to look. He is amazing at that. Mike O. Smith is an archivist chair at the Detroit Jewish News Foundation. He has over 30 years as an archivist and historian, served as the director of the Walter Reuther Library, director of the graduate program in archival administration, Wayne State, and principal archivist at the Bentley Historic Library at University of Michigan, which also, as I said, has many of the historic Albert Kahn archives. He has presented and published extensively on archival studies, Michigan history, Jewish Detroit history, the labor movement, the automotive industry, and he's curated numerous exhibits. And last but not least is Caitlin Wunderlich. Caitlin is a writer and historian at Albert Kahn Associates, where she's been writing a book in honor of the firm's 125th anniversary. You're going to want to read it. She worked in exhibition and collection management roles at the Brooklyn Museum, the Detroit Institute of Arts, and Cranbrook Art Museum, and has published articles on museum topics and history of Detroit architecture. So there's a whole lot of very, very impressive people on our board. I am humbled when I look at who we have that is engaged and driving this organization forward. So you should feel really good that this organization is in good hands. The next thing I'm going to cover is what we've been doing. So now you know we've got all these pretty humbling people. We have a committee structure that is quite extensive too, and we've accomplished quite a bit. I'm going to go through some of those committees just so you can see the kind of work that we've been doing in this last year. So the Finance Committee is led by Rob Sharrow. He's the chair. This year we've established finance protocols. Our fiscal year runs from July to June. So we had just a very short little blip of the first year. And then we had a full year, and now we're officially starting the third year. We'll be filing our taxes and doing all that stuff that we need to be doing right now for our last fiscal year. But the things that I'm going to share with you tonight are what we've done since we've started. And so it's just entering our third year, so you can kind of see the significance of what we've been doing. So our income sources have been membership mostly. We did receive a 2,500 banner sponsorship from Kirchhoff Wells Fargo, which we put to great use. We have a matching grant from the Michigan Architectural Foundation that will go towards the Detroit Historical Museum exhibit, and we need to have matching funds for that. So we're gonna be looking at how can we get those matching funds and what kind of donations can we get by the end of the year to match those funds that they have granted for us. I wanted to emphasize for you all that we are a completely volunteer organization. So all of the donations, all of the money, all of this is purely volunteer, plus whatever donations people are making. Nobody's getting any money for the work that we're doing. We're just working out of our hearts. So I want you to understand that. And there's a lot of heart in this organization. The next committee is the membership committee. I'm the chair of that. We have currently at the end of September, 190 members. We have 24 founding members. Those are lifetime members. Those are people who have said, I believe in what we're doing, and have put $1,000 in before they even had anything to see of what we were doing, because that helped us launch everything from website to our graphics, to our printed materials, to our banners, to tell our stories. So those are founding members. We also have annual memberships. So we have one contributing member at $360 plus. We have 36 sustaining members who have given $100 or more. And we have 129 regular members who have given $25 or more. So we have quite a few members for the amount of time that we have been around. And we're starting our membership drive. So if we get members, it's time for renewals, but whoever renews from now through the end of the year gets all of next year too. So share this with your friends. We'll be sending out a membership drive information very soon. So be sure to share it and help us grow. Membership committee needs more volunteers. We need to be looking at member attraction, member communication, and volunteer coordinator. We have a lot of work to do because like I said, most of how we operate comes from our membership. So we need to focus on that. Museum. I want to just make sure I didn't do that wrong. Yep. Okay. Communications committee. So Abby Leffler is the chair of the communications committee. They have been working very, very hard. They have been working on the business cards, the stationery, the social media, the website, the graphic design, the PR materials, and the printed materials. They have been awesome at keeping us informed and really on top of things. We do need more volunteers. We especially need some people with website expertise, with communications expertise, and with public relations expertise. So we've got some great volunteers, but we don't want to burn them out, and we could use a lot more to help us. Museum and Exhibits Committee, Levi Smith is the chair. We have kicked off, we've been working very hard on some banners and exhibit that we kicked off at the Month of Design exhibit and reception in the Fisher building in September as part of the Month of Design. We've explored museum concepts with various organizations. We've created pop-up exhibits, designed and created banners, and we are pursuing venues for later in 2021, 2022, and looking for places where we want to tell the story and these portable exhibits. And we've also secured an exhibit at the Detroit Historical Museum for April to July of 2022. That is the biggest Albert Kahn exhibit that we have to date, and it's going to be pretty significant. So we're very, very excited about that. We will need more volunteers in this committee to help with event planning and exhibits and different activities that we'll be continuing to pursue from an exhibits standpoint. We know there are lots of Albert Kahn museums around, and some of them may need help with, creating exhibits in some of those places too. So that would be a fun opportunity for us to engage with other organizations. Archives Committee, Caitlin Wunderlich is the chair. They have been very busy compiling lists of archive resources and locations. There are Albert Kahn archives all over the place, and so creating where these archives are, so we can point people in the direction that the archives reside. We have been cataloging and archiving the Albert Kahn Company archives. So even though the Bentley Historic Library has some of the most researched historical documents, the company still has about 10,000 other rolls of drawings. And so we are trying to make sure that they are cataloged and archived so they can be made available for researchers and students and researchers. We have been responding to archive requests, and we are a resource to researchers, helping to point them in the right direction. So that's kind of a fun group to dig through the archives. Also, Programs and Education Committee. This is a big one. It's co-chaired by John Gallagher and Barbara Cohn. Many of you, most of you probably have participated in the speaker series that started in April with Michael Hodges and continued in June with Michael Smith talking about Albert and Julius Kahn. In September, we had John Gallagher talking about the emergence of Yamasaki. And as you can see, how many people were registered? Not too bad, considering those were the first events that this organization had. And so we have certainly engaged quite a few people in a short period of time, and we want to see that continue and grow. In November 10th, we've got our next program, and that will be Jeff Morrison, Guardians of Detroit, and Architectural Sculpture of the Motor City. He's got a book out, Guardians of Detroit, and he's going to highlight some of the Albert Kahn sculptures as well. So that's going to be a really interesting one. It's up on the website. You can register for it and watch for social media. Also reminders to register. Pass it along to all your friends too. In 2022, we have a lot of other activities that will be coming. Barbara has been very busy lining up speakers for next year. We have Dale Carlson talking about Albert Kahn and unintended consequences. In February, we have Jennifer Barras talking about Parducci. In the spring, Caitlin and the guest authors in the book that she is working on will have a book launch and talk, which will be very, very interesting. You will want this book because there's a whole lot of projects that you might not even be aware of that are highlighted. On April 28th, we're going to have our opening program for the Detroit Historical Museum. And so we're planning for that to be a nice event, which also has an opportunity for fundraising and engagement with the community as we launch that. This group does need more volunteers for speaking and event planning. We certainly, with some of these topics, there's so many other speakers that we want to make sure that this is robust for years. So let us know if you have topics. Also, the Programs and Education Committee launched in September our first annual Detroit Bike Tour. We had 30 people registered and they had an awesome time. It was a beautiful day. In 2022, we've decided, yes, that went well, and we're going to do that again. And we'll also have additional walking tours organized. And so we do need more volunteers. We need committee volunteers, docents, tour guides. There's a lot of things that we can see. We just need to organize some tours to see them. So we're very excited about that. Grants Committee is chaired by Nancy Finegood. She has the first drafts of grant applications written. However, we are going to probably need to establish an endowment before we can start fulfilling some of these grants. We're looking at future grants to include architect and engineering scholarships, archive and research scholarships, and maybe even some crowd-funded partnership grants where we walk side by side and help some of our properties, the Albert Kahn properties, raise some funds. So we certainly need volunteers and committee members to help with this committee. Nancy's flying solo and needs some help. So we'd like to get some people to help her with that committee. And of course, fund development is an important one to make sure that we can continue to do the work that we've identified and what we are hoping to do. So Wendy Bice is our chair. We are in the process of establishing sponsorship level and benefit structure. Tonight is launching our first silent auction. It's on the website already, so that I'll cover in just a few minutes. But we have from now through November 4th to bid on items. We also have in process development strategy, planning and structuring a development drive, and then initiating an ask through a variety of different methods, from personal contacts to phone calls to, who do you know and how can we engage them? So we need volunteers, we need worker bees, we need people willing to help us in this very important effort. So, of course, when you think of all of the things that we have accomplished this year, most of it would not have been possible without our volunteer of the year. So Eric Keller is our graphic designer. He has been amazing, touching everything that you have seen come out of this organization. So from the banners to the website, to the graphics, to the printed material, to the social media, he has had his hand in all of that and worked tirelessly at all of our chaos as we're trying to figure out what we're doing, and he just does it and makes us look so good. So when you see Eric, be sure to congratulate him for volunteer of the year and for all of the work that he has done that, in only a short year, we are up and running as a professional organization, and we couldn't do it without him. So thank you, Eric. Next, silent auction. Okay, so on our website, the website is albertkahnlegacy.org. Most of you know how to get there. We have lots of different items up there, and we want you to take a piece of Albert Kahn home. So we have a couple weeks that we're going to be running this. Enough time for you to engage other people, pass the word along, bid things up. Some of the items that we have, I just pulled up a couple to highlight. We have a sketch of that Albert Kahn when he traveled around Europe, and he did some hand sketches. This is a print of one of his hand sketches. We also have a print of the Albert Kahn Fisher Building architectural drawing. We have books, we have experiences, we have tours. We have a wonderful opportunity to have dinner with Peter Robinson and John Gallagher. We have an opportunity to go on a sailboat with Rob Sharrow. We have an opportunity, even those of you that aren't in town, we have some virtual things. We have a virtual yoga class and we have a virtual cooking class. And so we have lots of opportunities to engage. So go to the website. We have until November 4th at 8 o'clock. You will also see some pushing out of reminders over the next couple of weeks to make sure that you're bidding, you're seeing things and engaged. So I am going to open the floor for questions that you might have on what we've been doing, how we got organized, anything that you might have about the foundation. And then we're going to move then after about 5 to 8 minutes, we're going to move to John Cole so he can talk about from the archives, from the Kahn archives, some information about some of the retail and Kahn Realty and interesting things that that we have discovered in the archives. So if you have questions, I think I'm supposed to stop share. Okay, questions and answers. There are none. I couldn't have answered your questions. So if you have any questions, click on the Q&A on your Zoom. Well, I guess you're easy. You're not going to stump me with any questions tonight. So we'll come back. We'll circle back after we've had a chance for John to give his presentations. You'll probably have more questions for him because it's a lot more interesting. So we are so glad you're here, and I am going to pass the baton to John. And why don't you take it from here, John?
Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate the lead-in. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first presentation of From the Kahn Archives. This evening we focus on, I'll bring up my screen now. We focus on Albert Kahn's retail projects, which is a lesser known aspect of his work. Yeah, Kahn archives contain project drawings, contain project drawings, photographs, publicity brochures, technical publications, and newspaper and magazine articles concerning Albert Kahn, his family, and his firm. An inquiry is made to the Kahn archives from owners of Kahn design buildings, contractors working on Kahn design buildings, educators and students who are studying or doing projects related to Kahn design buildings, researchers, and other interested parties. So how are projects identified? Each project site has a unique project number. However, there are exceptions. The numbers are in chronological order based on the date that the project is approved. However, the first 50 project numbers are in alphabetical order. That's how the firm started, by just using and creating projects. And then these decided over a period of time that these had to be in some type of order. As they got going with that, the first 300 projects had multiple project numbers that were used per site. So if we were working at Packard had a couple different job numbers below 300 before it was all settled on project 201. After that, to avoid confusion, Modifications, additions, and sometimes a new building on that site was placed in an alphabetical with an alphabetical suffix added to the end. In the 125-year history of the Albert Kahn firm, there have been 3,418 individual project numbers created. When Albert died in 1942, the last project added was 1931, an aircraft manufacturing facility for Higgins Aircraft in New Orleans. It was intended to be used to build C-46 Curtiss Commando cargo planes. Few were built as the building was completed towards the end of World War II. The site also had an airplane hangar with a control tower and a set of runways. The site is now NASA's Mashhad assembly facility, where components of the United States space program are manufactured and assembled. NASA refers to it as America's rocket factory, where the first stages of Saturn rockets and the 135 external fuel tanks for the space shuttle were built. We found this out when a contractor made an inquiry to the archives concerning structural steel drawings for this building. Little did we know at the time that one of Kahn's buildings had an integral part in the history of our space program. And there's an aerial view, courtesy of NASA, of the building. The original building was basically in this type of square, and this part over here was the hangar. So Kahn had a lot of different market segments they worked in, a broad range prior to 1942. The commercial aspect covered automotive sales and service buildings, financial institutions, office spaces, newspaper offices, and printing facilities, plus stores. There are educational buildings. There were government buildings, which covers military installations, police and correctional facilities, municipal buildings, healthcare facilities, industrial, where Kahn was most famous for his automotive-related facilities, but there was a substantial number of aeronautical-related facilities. Both types of facilities played an important role in the arsenal of democracy. A slew of other factory types, including mills, foundries, and machine shops, were among the industrial buildings that were designed by the Kahn firm. Residential, homes, apartments, dormitories, and hotels. And there was a broad range of other types of buildings, including entertainment venues, theaters, even an ice arena. There were civic, social, and golf club houses, places of worship, and monuments and mausoleums. The recent Albert Kahn bike tour got us searching for Kahn retail projects along its route. Several store buildings were found in the Kahn project list along the path. Unfortunately, when the locations were checked, the buildings no longer existed. In some cases, they were never built. So the question became, how extensive would Kahn firm's retail portfolio, excluding automotive sales and service buildings? Almost 8% of the project sites, or about 150 in total, were of this type. Many well-known clients built Kahn design rental properties: Henry B. Joy, John and Horace Dodge, Edwin George, James Cousin, but their largest customer, the Kahn firm, was Kahn Realty, with over 40 distinct project numbers. The first retail project on record was William McMillan, who was son of Senator James McMillan. It was a store building in Delray, designed in the late 1890s. Here are some of the examples of retail projects in the French portfolio. The Grand Trumbull Market, built in 1921 at Grand River and Trumbull. It was built by the General Necessities Corporation. They called itself the finest food department store in the United States of America when it opened October 1st, 1921. There were over 150 merchants in the building, mostly selling food. Below is an advertisement from the Detroit Free Press on the day prior to opening. It sounds to me like this was something like an enclosed Eastern Market when it opened. It's still there. Today, the site sits on a triangular shaped lot bounded by Grand River to the east, Sycamore to the south, and Trumbull to the west. The north half of the building has been demolished for a parking lot. Currently, Norm's Liquor Express and a closed Family Dollar store occupy the building. So we're looking at, in both cases, pretty much the east elevation of the building. This close-up view shows the south of the building, and in the medallion or the shield in the top center, it contains the letters GTM. Another building that was found was the Ainsworth shops. This was on the bike route. It's located at the northwest corner of Peterborough and Cass. It was built in 1924. And here on the screen is the title block on the first drawing. Now, typically, with the older drawings in the set, they show the complete project information on the first sheet of a project. And then the ones beyond that just basically show the what the plan shows or the drawing shows, the revisions, the job number, the sheet number, and who drew it. This is an elevation on Cass Avenue of how the building was designed. This was one of 3 stories that were designed by developers C. Haynes Wilson and Ralph Ainsworth. Wilson was the son of the founder of the Wilson Body Company that made automotive bodies. Ainsworth was a major shoe wholesaler. There are 10 stores in the original building with storefronts along Peterborough and Cass. The individual stores ranged in size from 450 to 1,000 square feet. And here it is as it looks today. Same building. It's been revitalized. Today it houses the Peterborough Restaurant, Downtown Detroit Bike Shop, 8 Degree Plato Beer Company, and the iconic tattoo and body piercing. It's quite an example of a revitalization of a Kahn building. And it really looks really, really nice. Across the street on the opposite corner, the Turner building was intended to be built. The year of design was 1917. That's the time that Watson and Zoomstein, another developer, had the Kahn firm design a 5-story office and automotive sales and service building on that corner, the southwest one of Cass and Peterborough. The Turner building, as it was going to be called, was never built, most likely due to material shortages during World War I. The site remained undeveloped until Kahn Realty purchased it after the war. This led to the construction of the garage building for Albert Kahn in 1920. So they took over that and converted it into a new building. So this building was, the Turner building footprint was used to develop the 2-story garage building for Albert Kahn that is currently located on the site. The building was designed so that a 3rd floor could be added. Most of Kahn's buildings were expandable upwards. The structure was built and foundations was built significantly stouter to allow the building to grow. It was originally intended to have 2 automotive dealerships and 3 storefronts. The 2nd story housed vehicle storage and repair and was accessed by 2 freight elevators. We can see here are the 2 elevators. Here's one of the sales rooms. Here was the other, and the 3 storefronts were in between. The spaces here was places for car prep and storage. This building originally housed the Potts Motor Sales Company, which represented the Haynes Automotive Company of Kokomo, Indiana. Haynes went out of business in 1925, with Potts Motors closing soon thereafter. The building was modified to meet the needs of the tenants. There were several projects done by the Kahn firm to adjust the building. By 1928, it housed the Lynn Every, an office supply company. They remained in the building until 1961. In 1931, a Michigan Secretary of State office was located in the south half of the building. In 1936, upon repeal of prohibition, a state liquor store opened in the building. Over the years, there were many companies that made this building their home. And here is an elevation of the building along Cass Avenue and a photo of how it is today. And it is currently occupied by J&L Foreign Auto Center. And they occupy a portion of the building, and they do a lot of repair work on foreign cars, BMWs and Mercedes and Jaguars and so forth. Another project was that was early done in the retail business was the Kahn Stores and Garage. This was built in 1910 at Seward and Woodward on the northwest corner. In April of 1910, Ernestine and Margaret Kahn bought and combined 2 parcels of land at the northwest corner of Woodward and Seward, north of Grand Boulevard. They proceeded to build a 2-story building with 5 stores on the first floor and 5 flats on the second floor, which was designed by Albert Kahn. They also built a auto service and repair garage that fronted on Seward. So here's the elevation of the building as it looked from Woodward Avenue. Oops. There we go. The floor plans, here are the floor plans for the first and second floors. You can note the 5 stores that fronted on Woodward with access directly off the sidewalk. Also note that on the second floor, there are large windows. You can see them here and here along the front on at least 2 sides of each flat that provides light and ventilation to the tenant. It was one of Kahn's factory designs put into play in a different setting. Light and ventilation was important for people's living as it was in the factories. A 6th store and a flat was added to the north in 1912. The site plan here shows all the buildings as they were. A second garage right here was built in 1925 that sold and serviced Auburn automobiles. So we have the 1925 garage here, the original store building fronting Woodward, and the original garage building here on Seward. Kahn Realty was adapted. In 1935, after the Myers Auburn Company no longer occupied the garage, Kahn Realty converted it to a banquet hall. This was the last modification on record that was made for this property. And how they modified it is with this being Woodward out here, there was a kitchen, there's an orchestra shell, a dance floor, and the rest is dining area. Quite a reuse from going from a car manufacturing or repair facility and sales facility into a banquet hall. And today, the site is occupied by Burger King. Kahn Realty. These are pictures of Ernestine and Albert, who are on the left with an unidentified grandchild, and Margaret and Julius Kahn are on the right. They were equal share partners in Kahn Realty. In November of 1911, Ernestine and Margaret split the deed of the property and improvements at Seward and Woodward, with half going to Ernestine and Albert, and the other half going to Margaret and Julius. They made an oral agreement among themselves to create a real estate business that would become known as Kahn Realty, with each holding a 25% share. The 4 of them also agreed to treat this property, the one at Seward and Woodward, as an asset of Kahn Realty. The Kahn Realty buildings designed by the Kahn firm were mostly built in Detroit on Woodward, Gratiot, Grand River, and Jefferson. An apartment building was constructed in Youngstown, Ohio, the home of Julius and Margaret Kahn. The locations were strategically located near streetcar stops, which allowed customers to stop by their local dry goods store or butcher on their way home. Kahn Realty understood that a small store or business was an entry path to the American dream for many immigrants, and they desired that their tenants business thrive. An ad from 1915 added as an invitation, we select the best business locations in every section and are constantly building new daylight stores, which we lease to outstanding, successful merchants. Start your business in one of our stores and see it grow. And by daylight stores, they mean that you could go directly from the outside into their store and do that, much as we saw at Seward and Woodward. The December cooperative ad ran in the Free Press, and here it is. In it, Kahn Realty encourages patronage of their tenants. The headline reads, Kahn Realty Company, tenants are leaders in business, Detroit's business life, and encourage the paper's readers to support their tenants' business. It was such a unique marketing method that there was a separate article in the Free Press that ran about the same time. Sorry. In 1928, Albert and Ernstine won a tax appeal from the Federal Board of Tax Appeals regarding taxation of proceeds from Kahn Realty. Both Albert and Ernestine both claimed their 25% share of the annual profits as equal partners for the 1919 through 1922 tax years. Since Michigan law at the time did not allow spouses to be business partners, the U.S. Treasury claimed that Albert was responsible for the taxes on Ernestine's share, which meant he should have been taxed at a higher tax rate. Albert's tax deficiency totaled close to $50,000 over those 4 years. However, 2 previous cases had already set precedent, which allowed Ernestine to be considered a 1/4 partner. The final ruling indicated that the U.S. Treasury erroneously declined to credit Ernestine her share of the profit, for which she alone should have been taxed on. Kahn Realty at one time held close to 60 properties. It also acted as a real estate agent, listing, renting, and selling properties. It continued on until at least the mid-1940s. There was a group of stores and garages located at Woodward and Warren that was built in 1912. This is the title block for building number 1. This is an elevation of building number 1 along Woodward. Building number 1, which was known for a time as the Maxwell Building. It had 7 stores on the first floor with offices on the second. The second floor was home to the offices of the Everett Motor Car Company in 1912. Barney Everett was one of the founders of EMF, a brass era automotive manufacturer that had recently sold out to Studebaker. He, along with his other EMF partners, William Metzger and Walter Flanders, started a new car company. After several name changes and a merger with 9 other manufacturers, there had been an attempt to build a conglomerate to rival General Motors. The company was in dire straits. After Flanders completed an analysis of all the vehicles being built, only one viable nameplate emerged, Maxwell. Maxwell eventually became the foundation for the Chrysler Corporation. The garage was built on the south end of the property behind building number 1. And then building number 2 was built facing Warren. It was a 1-story building with 6 stores. A second floor with an open office area was added in 1919. The plot plan, this one on the left, shows the original building arrangement. Building 1 here on the south, on the east side, the garage on the south, and an outline of building 2 on the north. This plot plan was pulled off one of the earlier jobs. On the right is the site plan in 1934, when the buildings were modified due to the widening of Woodward Avenue. A wide swath of property was condemned to allow Woodward to shift to the west south of Warren. 28 feet and 6 inches was lost on the north end of the property along Warren, and 37 feet 10 inches was lost at the south end. The front of building 1, which was here, had to be moved back to 37 feet 10 inches to get outside the condemned area. And the building was rebuilt to have the same configuration and size as it was originally. To achieve that, the garage was shortened. The garage outline was here, and it became cut off here. And 2 stores were lost on building 2. Can you imagine the disruption to the tenants and the lost revenue from one of Kahn Realty's prime locations due to the relocation of Woodward Avenue? This property is now a park at Wayne State University. These images show how quickly Woodward shifts to the west, south of Warren Avenue. The widening of Woodward resulted in modifications to a number of Kahn design buildings. At Burroughs Street, the American Electric Heater Company had to be modified. It too had to be moved back. The Goodrich Rubber Company building, which is the red building on the right, it's also known as the University Press, at Woodward and Hancock, was also modified. On the east side of Woodward, the Garfield building, which was located down the street towards downtown, was not affected. Research in the Kahn archives will continue on these and other Kahn sites as requests for information comes in. I would like to thank Michael G. Smith for his research in developing this presentation. His efforts are greatly appreciated. That's all I have. Thanks for listening. And I see there's a question. It says it's significant that 2 women were developers in 1910. I think that is extraordinary myself. It's quite a surprise. Pleasant one. If there are any other questions, that'd be great. I appreciate it. I really had a lot of fun looking and researching for this this paper. Hey, I bring it back to you.
All right. Okay. Well, even though there wasn't a lot of us on this call, yeah, this information will be made available. Isn't it interesting? Did you know that information about Kahn Realty and all that stuff? I didn't. So there's so much that we're discovering in the archives, and there's so much. Oh, there's a question that I see popped up. Were the Kahn wives the primary executives? Were the Kahn brothers involved much? Do you know that, John?
I do to an extent. I believe it was Maurice Kahn, and I could be wrong on that because I'm going by memory. He was actually the executor of that, and he created the Kahn Realty business. And then they hired managers to run the Kahn Realty after a while. They were based in a number of buildings around town and had their had actually, they would have a manager, and then they would have several other people. You know, it takes a lot to manage 60 properties. So I'm not sure, you know, what extent that they had in managing of it. Were the projects financially successful? I would say yes, it quite successful. I know of a bit of a downturn during after the stock market crash in '29, but they kept running those businesses until after Albert's death. Any other good examples of Kahn Realty projects still standing that we might recognize in Detroit? Not that I'm aware of at the moment. We're still just starting to try to find them. I found a couple spots where they used to be. There was one in Highland Park. There was a number along Woodward, quite a few, but we just haven't had a chance to explore that. The fortunate thing is most of these buildings were pretty lightweight buildings. They were 2 stories for the most part, and they weren't maintained over time. They were lost to expansion or another person buying the property and redeveloping it without preserving the building.
There's a couple other questions that when did Kahn Realty close and how many buildings did they own? I don't know if you had.
I don't know precise answers to either of those questions. I know that they owned 60 properties at some point, and some of them that were not Kahn designed and built buildings. They purchased buildings and they sold them. And I'm not sure if the company got sold or if they sold off the pieces. That's another research project.
So as we're digging through things and digging through the archives, many of these just ask, every time we discover something, it just makes us ask more questions and has to dig a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper. So we're very excited. We know that the more we dig, the more we're gonna intrigue people to want to dig a little bit more. And so that's part of what we're trying to do, is make these archives much more available and understand what the history and the significance. We often think of, it's the beautiful downtown, buildings that Albert did, or it's the factories, or there is so much more than what, the average person thinks. We only see just a little piece of it, and we are only at the little tip of the iceberg. So we have lots to explore.
There's one more question, Heidi.
Okay.
Did Realty have any ventures in Walkerville? And the answer to that is not that we know of. There were none that were built by the Kahn firm in Walkerville, based on our records.
But there was a lot of other buildings in Walkerville that Kahn designed, just not necessarily Kahn Realty.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you start pulling on threads, you don't know exactly what's going to come out from them. It's been quite an interesting process.
All right. Any other questions? We have kept you for an hour, and thank you so much. We look forward to engaging with you. We hope you all renew your membership or up your membership. We hope you go to the website and bid on items, bid on things, and engage with us. There's a world of stuff that we have yet to discover, and we're looking forward to walking through this journey together. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you very soon, hopefully in person before too long. Thank you. See you November 10th, I think, at the next event, a virtual event. You have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.